My name is Tim Boldig. I'm Deputy Director for Planning and Environmental Development Services. I know for some of you, this is probably the first time you've seen me, and for me, it's the first time meeting some of you, and couldn't be happier for this day to come. So good morning and welcome everybody. I'm glad you're able to join us here today. Unfortunately, there's a few of us that were unable to attend due to previous commitments. You know, a year ago, our community was faced with a COVID-19 pandemic crisis. Those early days were extremely challenging as we faced a lot of unknowns regarding this virus. Throughout those early days, there was a bombardment of information, both positive and negative, on how to handle this growing pandemic. Mayor Demings, your leadership and guidance during those early days focused on what was best for the health, safety, and welfare of all Orange County citizens and tourists, as well as the multitude of businesses that across the county. Your decisive action to implement a series of COVID-19 restrictions enabling businesses to reopen and or continue to operate in Orange County in a safe environment for both employees and patrons proved to be instrumental in our success. So suffice to say, it was no small feat. Today, those gathered in this room played all a part in either directly or indirectly in making these compliance teams successful. From staff representatives from Code Compliance, Fire Marshal's Office, Florida Department of Health, who comprise the compliance teams on a daily basis, to their supervisors and managers who had to shuffle workloads while their staff participated in this effort, to our GIS staff who created our dashboard, provided metrics for our daily conference calls, and generated workloads for our teams, to those in our graphics department who provided all the signage and handouts, to our health services who provided PPE supplies, masks, gloves, face shields, sanitizers for our teams to distribute, to our legal staff for their guidance and direction on executive orders, and to communications for their coverage and assistance in the promotion of the compliance team effort. The names of those staff who became part of this year-long effort are being shown in the monitors today, and this initiative would not have been possible without each and every one of their efforts and the Mayor, your leadership to keep Orange County safer, stronger, and together. So Mayor, with that, I'll turn it over to you.
All right, good morning. Let me begin by first saying thank you to Tim Boldig for his leadership during this past year. Also owe a debt of gratitude to the media for the coverage that they have provided to give accurate, timely journalism to our efforts to keep our community safe. And then to you, all of you who are here today, the 55 or so of you who went out and worked and provided the tremendous oversight and support to keeping our community safe for these last 14 months. Your work is really, truly immeasurable. And we wanted to really have you come in today to take a bow for your efforts. Now, before I kind of get into the meat of the presentation, I offered your colleagues who are standing around the wall the opportunity to be seated on the dais behind me. And they said, I don't think so. We'll be on camera the entire time. But welcome to my world. That's what I get to do on a weekly basis. But let me just talk a little bit about why we created the business compliance strike teams in July of 2020, with the goal of visiting businesses throughout the county and helping them achieve the CDC compliance through the implementation of proper workplace guidance and procedures to protect patrons and employees against the spread of COVID-19. I want you to truly understand that your collective efforts paid off for this entire community. Orange County was never really close to exceeding the emergency room or hospital capacity here really because of your efforts. Our numbers have remained relatively low for an urban county or community, a large metropolitan area, when compared to other similar-sized locations around the country. Many of them had a far worse experience than we had here. But because we were proactive in our efforts by using the compliance teams, by going out with the attitude to be positive, to be able to provide personal protective equipment to our businesses and other collateral material, we were able to help our businesses to help their customers and their employees. Your efforts allowed us to stay open. Your efforts allow Orange County to recover sooner than later. So you cannot really probably truly appreciate your efforts. And perhaps the community can't truly appreciate what you have done. But I do. The teams included Orange County Code Compliance Officers, Florida Department of Health representatives, and Orange County Fire Marshal representatives. Over the course of 214 days, the business compliance strike teams visited 6,742 locations and conducted 11,012 inspections with 99.1% overall compliance. That is extraordinary. For the overwhelming majority of that time, there were no fines or penalties in place. And the reason why we put the compliance teams in place was to gain compliance. So you accomplished the mission by 99+%. It wasn't 100%. But from my school days, if you got a 99 on a test out of 100, that's pretty doggone good. So thank you, you got an A+. I applaud you, and I know our community does as well. The teams provided nearly 7,000 business owners with free face mask and hand sanitizer and signage. The business compliance strike teams included over 50 staff, departments, and divisions made daily adjustments to accommodate the compliance teams. Now, many of you were doing some work outside of what you normally would be doing. Our entire county family during this pandemic had to step up to the plate. We are a public service entity. And we were asked to do jobs that we were not customarily doing here within Orange County. I would like to acknowledge the following departments and their role in the success of the compliance teams. From administration, we set policy direction. The legal department helped to craft the executive orders, the citations that were used, and the non-compliance letter language. Neighborhood services, code compliance work to really provide the daily lead teams in the field. The Fire Marshal's Office provided compliance team staff members. The Florida Department of Health provided compliance team members. So this was a collaborative with our local Department of Health. Procurement acquired the millions of pieces of supplies and in the form of hand sanitizer, gloves, etc. Health services assisted with the distribution of masks and sanitizer for the teams, and even provided staff to work at our testing locations, our vaccination locations. Graphics, people underestimate the power of the graphics and the messaging that was crafted to communicate with our community. The signage, I believe, that was provided to businesses made a difference in providing clarity and guidance to the people who live in our community and who were visiting our community. GIS worked early on to create a COVID dashboard one of the first counties in Florida was Orange County to provide the heat maps and all of the various graphics that were provided through the dashboard. And so to you, our compliance team members, my sincere thanks to you and the coordinated effort by Mr. Tim Boldig, the Deputy Director for PEDS. Join me, all of you, in giving even Tim a round of applause. For over 200 days, the compliance teams went out in the community during the day and night, on weekends, and sometimes on holidays, in the heat, the rain, and the cold, through various seasons. You ensured that the health and safety of the patrons and employees working in our community remained at the forefront. So thank you to the entire team for a job well done. And so with that, to the media, we will open it up for any questions or comments. And we have various staff who've joined us. Commissioner Wilson, Commissioner Gomez-Cordero is here in the audience. Ilia Torres, one of my special assistants, is here to help with any Spanish translation if needed. My Chief of Staff, Roseanne Harrington, and Deputy Chief of Staff, Carol Burkett, they are here. They provided instrumental support to me and my office, as well as our entire team as well. So with that, we'll open it up for any questions.
Yep. This is Melissa Thomas with Florida National News. This question is for Mr. Boldig. I'll give the mayor a break.
Awesome.
So, Mr. Boldig, kind of talk about the possibility, because we didn't really hear this talked about much in the media over the course of the year, but was there any potential risk that the members of the strike team face in terms of contracting COVID-19, since they were out there and kind of in the midst of folks who were not necessarily wearing masks or not complying with the safety regulations?
Yeah, I think, we had weekly conference calls that we did with the code compliance staff. One of the things that we talked about during that is what kind of response that they were getting, what kind of feedback that they get. They were very open and honest with some of the feedback that they were getting. And of course, like anything, it's a polarized type of environment out there. And you're always going to run into a few locations, even though overwhelmingly 99% compliance, and I think we went into those areas and they were appreciative of the efforts that we provide. There's always going to be the few that wanted to push back a little bit. I think our staff did an amazing job in handling the situations that they were up against, especially when we talk about the nighttime and the nightclub visits. I got to give some credit to the sheriff's office for providing some assistance, and maybe that kind of kept things even keeled there. But certainly staff did a very amazing job in dealing with customers in some pretty tough conditions once in a while. So my hat's off to them for how they handled themselves out there.
Lauren Seabrook, Channel 9. I was wondering if maybe we could hear from someone who was out there in the midst of some of these tough conditions that you talked about, who could maybe give us some perspective on what it was like, maybe some of the success stories and how positive people were reacting, and maybe some of the more difficult situations that people were put in.
All right, I know how this is going to work, because, we have live cameras here. I get to do this all the time. Perhaps they do not. But I believe that if there is anyone who spent some time in the field, it's okay to give your perspective on what it was like. That's what they're asking. What was it like for you? Because you encountered not everyone was out there singing Kumbaya with you. Some were very resistive, I know, to it. So is there anyone that would love to come up?
Alex, Nicole?
They all looking around. Jason Reynolds, Jason, come on up, Jason.
Thank you.
I was about to call on Jason. I think you felt my eyes.
Good morning, everyone. I had the privilege of going out with Alex Rueda to an event at Avalon Park. They had their food truck bazaar, and I was relatively new in the job, and I knew it was a strike team event, and it was on a Sunday evening, so I got clearance from my wife, and I was able to go there. And most of the people we encountered, these were the residents of the community who attended the event. They said, "Thank you. We're happy you're here." Or they were thankful. We got, of course, like the mayor suggested, some people who didn't see the value in it. At the event, there were some things that needed to be addressed. We spoke to the staff person who was there. He called his boss, and very shortly thereafter, the right measures were put in place. So that speaks to the 99.1% compliance. And the event was a success, and we came back and we told everyone. And I believe that event served as a model about how these types of events can be done successfully, following the appropriate guidelines and keeping safety first.
Well, I guess the privilege of being the mayor, sometimes you can kind of come out and coerce, but come on up. We're gonna, this is their time.
Hi, everybody. My name is Josie Figueroa. I'm with the Florida Department of Health, and I was one of the original teams that got picked out by in my case, it would be by David Overfield over here, who is a Director for Environmental Health. We were about 6 teams, was it? I was, I think, in team number 6 with Steve over here, and Jen. I don't know if, oh, there's Jen. Hi, how are you? And it was a very, honestly, how it's been told before, it was mostly a positive experience. There were some areas that even thought you would not expect to have like a bit of backlash. There was some resistance. The best way that I found was to come over in more of compliance. Just to get compliance, you need to get into their on their feet and make sure that you have some empathy for what they're going through as a business owner. And we experienced that. Jen can actually tell you about it, especially with small businesses. Every time we will go, we will like do anything that we could to help them get compliance, because they not necessarily had the appropriate budget to get like all the face masks or hand sanitizer. We help them direct them into, in my case, for the Florida Department of Health, what is appropriate in terms of like, what's the cleaning table procedures, what are you using to clean in terms of sanitizer, what will kill the virus, technical stuff like that. And I think we did helped a lot of those small businesses, especially. With big corporations, we usually had no issues. They were pretty straightforward, very compliant. And I'd rather not talk that much about the negative ones because, unfortunately, for the negative one, I think they will like not for us to come back again for a reinspection, so that will make them compliant. So that was also a motivation for them to get compliant. I don't know what else. I think that's covers.
I think it would be great for some of the men and women in uniform, either code or from the fire marshal's office to maybe come up. Do we have someone from fire marshals that, you know, I heard them say Jan can tell you a little bit about, okay.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Corbin. I'm with the Office of the Fire Marshal. I'm a fire inspector. I was with Steve and Jasmine and Josie, a couple other different people. I agree, we did have some pushback, but a lot of the times we approached it as, what can we do to help you get in compliance? A lot of times it was, giving them masks or hand sanitizer or the signs on the door. A lot of times they would say that people weren't following the mask order because they asked them to put the mask on and the people would refuse. So when we did give them the signage that had the Orange County logo, and we would specify, you know, this states the ordinance, and we would give them copies of the ordinance. So the executive order, and that seemed to help tremendously. Them having the actual sign that has the Orange County emblem, they could say, this isn't coming from me, this is coming from Orange County. We're trying to keep everyone safe and in compliance. And that's kind of how we approached a lot of it, is on an educational and what can we do to help you get there. That's pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. Anyone from Code? Okay, we got a volunteer. Great.
Hi, everyone. I'm Steve Belinsky with Code Compliance. So talked a little bit about some of the negative response that we've gotten, but we've also did have a lot of positive response, and I think that needs to be noted. One of the things that really kind of took me by surprise was one time when we were doing inspections, we were doing an inspection at one business. One of the business owners, we caught them peeking out of their door, kind of looking at us like, what are these guys doing? They actually called us over and asked us to inspect their business because they wanted to comply with the orders, and they wanted to just do their best to make sure that they were creating a safe environment for everyone. And so we said, sure, we'll inspect it. And there were a couple tips that we gave them on ways that they could comply better. And after that, it turned out they were doing great. They were really happy with us being there. We gave them PPE, and it was really just a good situation that we were able to reach out to the community and just be there for support and do our part for educating them and what they can do better. So it was a really good thing.
So they mentioned the Sheriff's Office. We do appreciate the partnership with the Sheriff's Office and even our local law enforcement agencies who supported this effort. One of the groups that we didn't expressly mention was our communications team led by Dr. Jeff Williamson and Deputy Director Jane Wattrell, and the team of people you see, Despina, who's here, and Miles, and the whole team of individuals made sure that we were using our graphics to communicate with the community to also gain compliance. And I believe that overall, we did a pretty good job. So are there any other questions? Yes. Well, what motivated me really to make the public policy decision to end the strike teams was the fact that they have visited some nearly 7,000 locations, did 11,000+ inspections, and they got 99% compliance. That was a goal from the very beginning for us. It really had little to do with the fact that the governor removed the opportunity for local governments to have related executive orders because we are very adaptable. We adapt to the environment that we're in, and from time to time we try to make our decisions in a timely manner. It just so happens that it occurred around the same period of time. So here we are today in a very good place as a community, with approaching 47% of our population that's 16 or older that has gotten vaccinated. That played into the decision because we have significant vaccination opportunities now available throughout our community. We believe that perhaps as early as next week sometime, we will reach that 50% pinnacle of those 16 years of age and older who would have received at least one dose of the vaccine. That would take us to the point where if we're outdoors, there will not be a requirement or be consistent again with CDC requirements. There won't be a need to wear facial coverings. So we'll get there. The difficult number is going to be the 70%, where we could all, I think, confidently remove our facial coverings. Our community isn't there yet. people still want to see that in their business and leisure experiences when they are in crowds of people who they do not know. So we're bringing our community along through this measured approach, the phasing approach that we have all talked about to the media. So that's really what motivated us to make the decision at the time that we did. Okay, other questions? Well, again, thank you. Stand up, please, all of our compliance team members, and let's give them a round of applause. You should take a bow. Thank you all very much.
Two things, everybody. One, stay with some pictures. The mayor wants to get the pictures of you all. And two, if you have your parking ticket for the garage, just make sure you get it validated outside at the front counter. I'll turn it over to Frank. Listen to Frank. He'll get us through this.